Hi everybody, it's Dave. Just a update for you with a couple items from the syllabus to talk a little bit about um, intro writing and how to draft your problem statement. We're going to talk a little bit about weaknesses of lit reviews today, and then we're also going to talk about the literature charting, which I'm going to start with here because it's right in front of me. So I've created this literature chart. It's in the Google Drive. If you go to EDC 574 resources, in the lit review, you'll see the literature chart. In order to use this, please right click and make a copy. Otherwise, you're going to be writing over each other's work, and I would not want to see that. That'd be terrible. So please make a copy or just download it, or you can make your own Excel spreadsheet. So for the literature chart, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to take 8 of your articles. I want you to put them in, put in a citation in APA format. I put the Purdue OWL website up there that will show you how to create the citations for single authors, multiple authors. You also have reference list articles and periodicals, how to create references for books, other print sources, electronic journals. So any type of medium that you could possibly use as a resource is on this website. If you find one that you haven't, if you have one that you don't see here, please email me and I'll find you the method of citation. All right, so you're going to put the full citation. The reason why I'm having you do this is you're going to have to create a reference list anyway. And creating those citations can be kind of a pain once you're done. So I at least want you to get the process started. In the second box is the title. Then I want you to put the type of research. So is it quantitative, is it qualitative research, or is it mixed methods? Then within those 3 domains, there are specific methods or approaches that they've used. So if it's qualitative, is it an ethnography, is it phenomenology? What kind of methodology are they using to collect the data? Quantitative, what kind of methods are they using for data collection? And then what kind of methods are they using to do data analysis? Next is the population. So who's being analyzed in this study? I'm also going to put in sample in this box because I want to know, in the study, who is the subject of it? So is it middle school ELL students? Is it higher ed freshmen? So I get a sense of who's being the subject of the study. Then the findings and the results. So what happened after they did their experiment or their observations, and then any conclusions that the author has drawn from the experience. Okay, and again, you can feel free to use this chart if you want to use a different one, or if you have a different method that you'd like to use. Feel free to run it by me. So long as all of this information is contained in here, I'm cool with it. If you go to the rubric for this project in your syllabus, you'll see that the chart of the articles is worth 6 points. So you just need to make sure that you're hitting all of these major points in each of the chart. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to ask that you submit this by, let's say Thursday or Friday, the earlier the better, because I'm going to assign you a peer to analyze your chart just to give you some feedback. Did you do the right citations? Is there anything missing from your chart? Are there any types of articles that you maybe want to explore further? And as I'm thinking, maybe it'd be a good idea just for insert a row in here, row below. Nope. Control Z. Undo that. After you make your copy, can you just put your topic? And if you have it, research question that you're looking to explore. So that way your classmate can potentially give you feedback in terms of the types of articles that you may be missing and that you could add in to find and plug some of the research holes. Okay. Any questions, please feel free to give me an email, or you can call me at my office, 874-4851. All right. So that's that. Want to go over a little bit some of the items that were in the tips for common tasks in this course. So if you look at page 8 on the PDF, there are a couple tips for writing a literature review, and I want to just kind of focus on writing the introduction today. I'm going to go through the introduction sample that's on that's in the EDC 574 folder, and also hoping to have a sample paper from last year so you can kind of see 2 examples of what this might look like. All right. So overall, you want to make sure that you're introducing the situation problem with relevant literature, and that goes into your introduction. In your literature review, you want to make sure that you're defining your terms as precisely as possible. Use the research to guide those definitions, and if you can operationalize, so what does that look like? What is the student doing? All the better. So again, this is also define your terms operationally. Have a clear purpose. Why are you investigating what you're investigating? What question are you trying to solve? Each theme or concept should be a separate section. So if you're if you're doing a thematic approach to your literature review, and we're going to go over a couple different approaches to literature review shortly, make sure that each theme or each era is a separate section. No wild claims. Many people feel if you're being super general, that's a problem. Make sure that whatever claim you're going to make can be backed up with some sort of research or evidence. Okay, and then map out the reader for where you're going in each section. One of my professors described it as following a string. So you know, if you were to follow a piece of string and go from piece by piece, forward by forward, and I know you can't see me do this, so that's a little strange, but you should be able to follow the thread so it's in a linear progression. Think of it as a way of following a recipe or a steps so that I could see exactly where you're going from step to step, and each paragraph builds on the last. Okay. Page 9 talks about ways of taking notes. I'm sure you have your own methods, but this is just a resource for you in case you're looking for something else that might work. I went over the chart of the article. Again, 8 articles. You need to compile a reference list, and we're just trying to get out ahead of it. We're going to work with your peer review group. I'm going to assign you a peer to look at your chart of articles just to give you some feedback, and you can do that either in the forum or through a Google Doc or the Google spreadsheet. This page 11, goes over how to cite an APA style. There's also a link to that in the spreadsheet through the OWL format. Okay, and this is an example. Notice ours is a little different. For the purposes of this exercise, we wanted to format it a little bit more standard in terms of making sure that you're hitting on all the big points. So like ours, it has the author and the title. We've you know, added a separate step so that you can put in the citation right away, so you have it. So the type of research, the methods used, the results, and the potential comments, also conclusions. We also just wanted the sample population, because if you're writing about ELL instruction for elementary school students and all you're using is research that's been done by middle school students, that may be problematic in answering your question. Okay, so this is another alternative form. Again, use the one, for our purposes, for the big 8, please use the model that we're using. But in terms of organizing your own research, if you wanted to go a pro-con analysis, you can do that. You can also you know, use any of these methodologies, or excuse me, methodology is probably the wrong word, any of these approaches outlined in this handout. But again, for the assignment, I want you to use the spreadsheet chart. Okay. So as you're writing, before you get into the intro, I just did want to address guidelines for avoiding unintentional plagiarism. Okay. Obviously, common knowledge does not need to be cited. You do not need a citation to say the sky is blue. Okay. If you have any questions in terms of whether or not something's common knowledge, feel free to email me. Original expressions need to be cited. So if it's in somebody's own words and it's a quote, you need to cite it. If you're rephrasing somebody else's idea in your own words, it needs to be cited with a parenthetical reference. If the idea continues in more than one paragraph, cite the source again. So if you use the source in your first paragraph and then you come back to it, it needs to be cited in every paragraph in which it's used. You do not have to cite the same source twice in a paragraph, but you have to cite it in each paragraph in which the source was used. And then decide on your criteria for selection of literature that you will use for your review. Because what might happen, once you have your search criteria, what might happen is that you pull an awful lot of literature and you read some things and you exclude it, and you may be including ideas from an article that you happen to exclude but you happen to read. So make sure that you are consistent in terms of whatever you're using for your literature review and whatever you're writing. Be careful of unintentional plagiarism, because you wrote something, you don't see it in, you read something, you didn't choose to use it, but because it's fresh in your mind, it may be included in your paper. So it's better sometimes if you decide on your criteria for your selection before you start reading, so that way you would avoid unintentional plagiarism. Okay. So coming up, not this week, but the following week, you're going to have to write an introductory paragraph, hopefully some paragraphs for your literature review. And while the outline is not due yet, an outline is going to be due shortly thereafter. So for your introduction, what you want to make sure is that you're identifying the problem or reform initiative that you'd like to explore. You want to make sure that you're focusing on the specific issues of the topic. Try to go narrow as you possibly can without sacrificing the broader topic. You want to make sure in the introduction you address some of the studies that have tried to tackle the project or the problem. And then also, why should the reader care about the study? What is, besides the interest to you, what's the interest to the broader audience? And then finally, come up with a purpose statement of the paper. What are you trying to accomplish? All right, so once you've identified the significance, why should we care about this particular problem? What is the purpose of this paper? Okay. So to give you an example of that, I've called up the ELL paper that is in the folder. So right at the outset, the author, Sheldon Barr, Zoreh El-Salami, and then R. Joshi. They are working at the Texas A&M University. What you want to do in this literature review is, first you'll notice that they start off with a powerful statistic. So the fastest growing populations in the United States consist of Asian / Pacific Islanders and Hispanics. In the following sentence, they talk about how what the population breakdown is right now and where it's heading currently. All right. Then they identify that 76% of Hispanics and Pacific Islanders 5 years and older speak their mother tongue. So we're seeing that the growing part of the population is coming from different areas, and they're speaking their mother tongue. Then it gets to why this might be problematic, is because only 30% of those determined to be ELLs were above basic or at basic partial mastery on the NAEP scores, compared to 69% of non-English language learners. This report also showed that only 7% of ELLs scored at or above proficient, compared to 34%. So we're seeing a large gap in terms of student ability to perform on the NAEP. So we're seeing this really clear problem. And as the author goes through, they start